In the summer of 2004, a team of Japanese researchers descended into the darkness off the Ogasawara Islands, trailing a baited camera line into water so deep that sunlight had not touched it in millions of years. They were searching for something that had evaded science for centuries, a creature whispered about in the scars of whales and the half-digested remains found in their stomachs. At 900 meters below the surface, the camera captured movement. Then, emerging from the void like a ghost materializing from nothing, came an arm. Not a human arm, not even close. This arm was longer than a telephone pole, lined with suckers the size of dinner plates, and it belonged to something impossibly large. For 18 minutes, the giant squid circled the bait, its body undulating in the cold current, before vanishing back into the abyss. It was the first time in history that humans had seen this animal alive in its natural habitat. But here is what most people do not realize. That giant squid, massive as it was, lives in the shallower regions of the deep sea. Go deeper, and squids do not just get larger, they get stranger. And the question is not whether we have found the largest one. The question is what else is down there that we have not. To understand why squids transform as they descend, you have to abandon the idea that the ocean is a single place. It is not. The ocean is a tower of alien worlds stacked on top of each other, each with its own rules, its own physics, its own versions of life. At the surface, squids are small, fast, and vulnerable. They dart through sunlit water, changing color in fractions of a second, fleeing from tuna and dolphins and seabirds. They are prey. They live in a world of color and light, where visibility means death. But begin your descent, and everything changes. The first boundary you cross is at 200 meters. This is where blue fades to gray and gray fades to black. The twilight zone. Here, squids begin to grow larger eyes. Not slightly larger, enormously larger. Their bodies start to lose pigment. Speed becomes less important than stealth. Drop another 1,000 meters, and pressure increases to the point where human bones would crack. The water here is near freezing. There is no plant life, no photosynthesis. The entire food web is built on the snow of dead organisms drifting down from above, and on creatures eating each other in the dark. At this depth, squids have evolved bodies filled with ammonia to stay buoyant, gelatinous flesh to withstand pressure, and metabolism so slow they can survive on a single meal for months. And this is still not the bottom. Go deeper, and you enter a realm where the concept of normal breaks down entirely, where squids grow to sizes that should not be possible, where evolution has had hundreds of millions of years to experiment in isolation, crafting nightmares that function perfectly in the last place on Earth humans can reach. The twilight zone is where the transformation begins. Between 200 and 1,000 meters, there is still light, but it is not the kind of light that sustains life. It is dim, blue, and fading. In this half-world, color becomes meaningless. A red squid and a white squid look identical because red wavelengths cannot penetrate this deep. So squids stop producing vibrant pigments. They become translucent, ghostly, nearly invisible. But they do something else. They start to glow. Bioluminescence is not decoration. It is survival. The firefly squid, no larger than a human thumb, covers its underside with light-producing organs called photophores. When a predator looks up from below, it does not see a silhouette against the faint surface light. It sees nothing. The squid has erased its own shadow. Other species use light to hunt, flashing patterns to confuse prey or mimic smaller organisms. Some use it to communicate in a language we are only beginning to decode. And then there are the eyes. In the twilight zone, squid eyes begin to swell. They grow larger relative to body size than almost any other animal on Earth. The reason is simple. Down here, whoever sees first survives. Light is so scarce that eyes must gather every available photon. The deeper you go, the larger the eyes become. packed with millions of rod cells sensitive enough to detect the faint glow of bioluminescent bacteria on the skin of a passing fish. Vision is currency, and squids are investing everything they have. But even these adaptations are only the beginning. Below 1,000 meters in the midnight zone, the rules change completely. At 1,000 meters, the last photon of sunlight dies. What exists below this line is not dimness. It is absolute, unbroken darkness. The kind of darkness that has no reference point in human experience. The pressure here is 100 times what we feel at the surface. The temperature hovers just above freezing, and yet, life thrives. In the midnight zone, squids no longer resemble their surface cousins. Their bodies become gelatinous, filled with low-density fluids to counteract the crushing weight of the water above them. Many species replace heavy muscle tissue with ammonia-rich cells, which are lighter than seawater and allow them to float without expending energy. They drift more than they swim, conserving every calorie in an environment where food is impossibly scarce. The Humboldt squid patrols these depths in packs, a rare behavior for cephalopods, coordinating attacks on fish and smaller squids with flashes of bioluminescent communication. But perhaps the strangest resident of this zone is the vampire squid. Despite its name, it is neither a true squid nor an octopus. It is something older, a relic from a time before the two groups split. It does not hunt living prey. Instead, it feeds on marine snow, the constant rain of dead plankton, feces, and decaying matter that drifts down from the surface. Its arms are connected by webbing, forming a cloak it can pull over its body when threatened, revealing rows of fleshy spines that glow blue in the darkness. Scientists study these creatures using remotely operated vehicles, pressure-resistant cameras that can withstand the bone-crushing depths. What they have found is this: the midnight zone is not empty. It is full. And the deeper they look, the less familiar life becomes. Somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 meters, squids stop following the rules of size that govern life at the surface. They become giants. The giant squid, Architeuthis dux, can grow to over 40 feet in length, with eyes nearly a foot across, the largest of any animal ever known to exist. These are not exaggerations. These are measurements taken from specimens washed ashore or pulled from the stomachs of sperm whales. To understand why squids grow so large in the deep, you have to understand the physics of cold water and metabolic efficiency. In frigid temperatures, chemical reactions slow down. Squids in the deep sea grow slowly, live longer, and can reach sizes that would be unsustainable in warm, oxygen-rich surface waters. This is called deep-sea gigantism, and it is not unique to squids. It occurs in isopods, in jellyfish, in species across the abyss. There is another advantage to size. At these depths, predators are few. The primary threat to a giant squid is the sperm whale, an animal that dives deeper than any other mammal, holding its breath for over an hour as it hunts in total darkness. The whales bear the evidence of these encounters. Their skin is covered in circular scars, sucker marks left by struggling squid, some of them larger than a human head. For decades, scientists had only dead specimens to study. Then, in 2004, the same year that first footage was captured, researchers realized something unsettling. The giant squid was not the largest squid in the ocean. There was something bigger, something far heavier, and it lived even deeper. In 2007, a fishing vessel working the frigid waters off Antarctica hauled up a net and found something that should not exist. Tangled in the lines was a squid unlike anything ever recorded. It was not just long. It was massive, thick-bodied, enormously heavy, with arms covered not only in suckers but in rotating hooks, sharp and curved like the claws of a predator. This was Mesonicoteuthis hamiltoni, the colossal squid. It weighed over 1,000 pounds. Estimates suggest it could reach 45 feet or more, and unlike the giant squid, which is relatively slender, the colossal squid is built like a tank. Its body is dense, muscular, designed not for speed, but for power. Those hooks are not for holding, they are for tearing. This is not a scavenger. This is an apex predator in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. The colossal squid lives at depths exceeding 2,000 meters in the lightless waters surrounding Antarctica, where temperatures barely rise above freezing. Its metabolism is so slow that scientists believe it may go weeks, even months between meals. It drifts through the abyss, nearly motionless, waiting. But how does it find prey in complete darkness? That remains one of the great mysteries. Its eyes are enormous, perhaps the largest of any squid, capable of detecting the faintest bioluminescent glow. Some researchers theorize it may sense electrical fields or chemical trails, though this has never been confirmed. What we do know is this. The colossal squid represents the extreme edge of what a cephalopod can become. And yet, every time we send cameras deeper, we find something we did not expect. In absolute darkness, vision alone is not enough. Deep-sea squids have evolved sensory systems that border on the alien, adaptations that allow them to navigate a world where sight, sound, and even smell function differently than they do at the surface. Inside their bodies, squids possess statocysts, small organs filled with fluid and tiny calcium stones that shift with movement. These act as an internal gyroscope, allowing the animal to maintain orientation in three-dimensional space where there is no up or down, no landmarks, no reference points. They know where they are even when they cannot see. Their skin, covered in millions of chromatophores, still exists even though color is invisible at these depths. Scientists are not entirely sure why. Some believe these cells may have been repurposed, no longer changing color, but detecting minute shifts in light or pressure. Others think they are evolutionary remnants, leftovers from a time when their ancestors lived in sunlit water. There is also growing evidence that squids may sense electrical fields, the faint bioelectric signatures produced by the muscles and nerves of other animals. This has not been definitively proven, but the theory persists because it would explain how they hunt with such precision in total blackness. Chemical sensing is another tool. Squids taste the water around them, detecting the faint molecular traces left by prey, predators, and potential mates. And beneath all of this is intelligence. Squids have the largest brain-to-body ratio of any invertebrate. They solve problems, they remember, they learn. Even in the deep, even in isolation, they are thinking. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If these creatures are this adapted, this specialized, this intelligent, what does that say about the parts of the ocean we have never explored? Deep-sea squids face a problem that does not exist at the surface. In the abyss, where individuals are separated by miles of empty water, how do you find a mate? The answer is both elegant and tragic. Most squids are semiparous, meaning they reproduce once and then die. It is not a malfunction, it is the strategy. After reaching maturity, which can take years in the cold deep, a squid's entire physiology shifts toward a single goal: reproduction. Males produce spermatophores, packets of sperm encased in capsules, and in some species, they do not even need to make contact with the female. They launch these packets remotely, embedding them in her skin or arms, where they remain until her eggs are ready to be fertilized. Females carry thousands of eggs, sometimes releasing them in gelatinous masses that drift in the current, other times tending to them in deep water caves or crevices. But after spawning, both male and female cease eating. Their bodies begin to break down. Muscles atrophy. Organs fail. Within weeks, they are dead. This is the cost of gigantism. Growing to enormous size in freezing water takes time, sometimes a decade or more. By the time they are mature enough to reproduce, their bodies are so specialized, so energy depleted, that there is nothing left for a second chance. The hatchlings, tiny and fragile, must navigate the same brutal world their parents conquered. Many will drift upward into shallower zones to feed before descending again as adults. But most will not survive. And yet, enough do. Enough to ensure that in the deepest, coldest, darkest parts of the ocean, giant squids endure. For all we have learned, the deep ocean remains more unknown than the surface of Mars. We have mapped less than 20% of the seafloor in detail. We have explored even less. And with every expedition into the abyss, scientists return with more questions than answers. How many species of deep-sea squid exist that we have never seen? Most specimens we have studied were either dead, dying, or accidentally caught. The behaviors we observe through cameras may represent only a fraction of what these animals are capable of. There are reports, unverified but persistent, of enormous squid sightings in the Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth. Submersibles have captured shadows on sonar, movements too large and too fast to be explained by known species. Are these giant squids venturing deeper than we thought possible? Or is there something else entirely, something we have not yet named? We also do not fully understand how climate change is affecting deep-sea ecosystems. The ocean is warming, even at depth. Currents are shifting. The delicate balance of temperature, pressure, and oxygen that has existed for millions of years is changing faster than these creatures can adapt. Then there is the question of maximum size. The largest colossal squid ever recorded was not fully grown. Its beak structure suggested it was still maturing. How large could one become if it lived long enough? Could there be individuals twice the size we have documented, drifting through trenches no human has ever reached? We simply do not know. And that ignorance is not a failure of science. It is a reminder. The ocean keeps its secrets. There is a certain humility required to accept how little we know about our own planet. We have sent robots to Mars, captured images of galaxies billions of light years away, and yet the deepest parts of our ocean remain as alien to us as any distant world. The squids that live there have been evolving for over 500 million years, long before the first vertebrates crawled onto land, long before dinosaurs, before forests, before ice ages. They have survived every mass extinction event Earth has thrown at them, adapting to conditions that would kill most life within seconds. And they did all of this without us ever knowing they existed. The deeper squids live, the stranger they become. But strangeness is not a flaw. It is proof of success. These animals are not bizarre mistakes of evolution. They are perfect solutions to problems we cannot even imagine. Their gelatinous bodies, their enormous eyes, their bioluminescent signals, their slow, patient metabolisms, every trait is an answer to a question posed by the abyss. What unsettles us is not that they are strange. It is that they are so well adapted to a place we can barely reach. They remind us that life does not need our understanding to flourish. It does not need sunlight or warmth or even solid ground. It only needs time, pressure, and the will to survive. And in the deep ocean, life has had all three in abundance. The squids of the abyss are not anomalies. They are the result of Earth doing what it has always done, creating creatures suited perfectly to the world they inhabit, no matter how dark that world may be. Every year, researchers descend into the deep and return with footage of something that was not supposed to exist. A squid with elbowed tentacles, a species that glows red instead of blue, a juvenile colossal squid, alive and hunting, recorded for the first time. The abyss is not done revealing itself. It has barely begun, and these discoveries do not happen by accident. They happen because people choose to look, to fund the expeditions, to build the technology, to ask the questions no one else is asking. If stories like this matter to you, if the unknown still holds weight in a world that feels entirely mapped, consider supporting the work that brings these creatures out of the darkness, whether that is through research organizations, ocean conservation efforts, or channels like this one that refuse to let these stories go untold. Because somewhere, right now, in water deeper than mountains are tall, something is moving. something we have never seen, and it is waiting.